All right, my name is Chris Campbell. I'm a practicing CPA, and I work with small businesses and individuals to help them pay the least amount of taxes possible while keeping them out of jail. So today it's a little bit of a breaking news, at least in the tax world, so to speak, something that might have been missed by many. But I just saw an article about how the IRS is no longer processing ERC, Employee Retention Credit claims. I had done a video about this prior, explaining how we get employee retention credit, and all of the scammers out there are creating all these fake claims, putting claims in for tens of thousands, and in some instances, hundreds of thousands. Just for a brief review, the employee retention credit was a way that the government, via the IRS, was providing credits for employees who kept folks employed during the pandemic. So IRS took a look at your payroll. I don't recall the numbers offhand, but I think at one point they were giving employers back like $10,000 per employee. So if you paid out up to 10 grand in salary per employee, they were giving that back to you. So that opened the floodgates and created a bunch of scam promoters. And I saw a lot of commercials about that where they were aggressively seeking after business owners and filing the paperwork. You just had to revise some payroll tax returns, send those into the IRS, and the IRS would send you a refund. Those payroll tax returns essentially said, hey, we paid these employees X amount of dollars and we'd like to receive a refund for that. That's in a nutshell how it worked. There were a lot of gray area promoters out there telling almost every business that they were eligible for this when they weren't. And you had some folks that were just outright committing fraud and making up businesses and payroll to receive these. The IRS eventually caught wind of this, I think, as they investigated more of the PPP and saw how much fraud was associated with PPP. And I think they were starting to see the same patterns with this employee retention credit. So they stopped processing. And truth be told, I would say rightfully so, because at this point, if you were entitled to that, then you probably would have processed it by now. If you had an accountant that was with you that was worth a salt, he or she would have told you about it already and you would have already hopped on this. We're at this point, 2-3 years out of the height of the pandemic. This employee retention credit's been around for quite some time already. This is something that should have been hopped on. If you qualified for it, you probably would have known about it, or your advisor or your accountant probably would have told you already. Employee retention credit, probably as we know it, is over. I don't foresee them turning the faucet back on to start processing again, because it's going to be too much to figure out who was real, who was legit. And I think they figured that most of the legitimate companies probably already went ahead and did this. So if you were legitimate and you didn't take advantage of it, I think you might have missed the boat on that as a result of all the scammers that were out there. So if you have any more questions about this particular subject or any other accounting or tax question, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. All right, so that's all for now, and I'll talk to you in the next one.